Think for a moment about something you've believed about yourself for years. Perhaps you think your habits will never change. Maybe you feel your nature is just the way it is. Or perhaps you've convinced yourself that it's too late, that at a certain age, change is no longer easy. Most of us live with an old-fashioned view of our brains, that after a certain point, they become fixed. What we've become is what we are. What we've learned is all we'll know, and our weaknesses are permanent. However, the brain that changes itself completely challenges this mindset. Author Doidge takes us into a world of neuroscience where the most shocking revelation is that our brain is not like stone. It is alive, it changes, learns, reorganizes itself, and often develops capabilities once thought impossible. This ability is called neuroplasticity, and it is the most powerful idea in this entire book. For years, scientists believed the brain's structure was largely set. If a part was damaged, that function was thought to be lost forever. But research gradually revealed an incredible adaptability within. Given the right training, repetition, and environment, the brain can create new connections, change old patterns, and reorganize itself in entirely new ways. This book isn't just about science. It tells the stories of real people whose lives were transformed by neuroplasticity. People whom doctors said would never recover, but who trained their brains to achieve the impossible. The core message is clear: humans often vastly underestimate their own potential. This leads to a profound realization. If the brain can change, it doesn't just mean we can learn new skills, it means we can change our habits, our thinking, and our emotional patterns. Many of the things we accept by saying, "That's just who I am," are actually just learned patterns. And anything that has been learned can be unlearned and relearned. The book also explains that our brain is always changing, whether we realize it or not. Every time we repeat a task, dwell on a specific thought, or practice a habit, we are strengthening neural circuits. In other words, we are constantly shaping our own brains. The problem is that most people let this happen unconsciously. If someone complains every day, lives in negativity, and makes decisions based on fear, their brain gradually strengthens those very patterns. Conversely, if someone trains themselves toward learning, focus, and growth, their brain begins to change in that direction. That is the power of neuroplasticity. The brain is neutral, it simply reinforces whatever you repeat most often. Doidge shares another fascinating point: the brain loves efficiency. The parts you use most often are made stronger, which is why habits are so powerful. Initially, a new behavior feels difficult, but with repetition, it becomes automatic. This is why good habits can build your life, while bad habits can slowly limit it. This book shows us that change doesn't come from desire alone, it comes from repetition. Many people want change but don't change their daily patterns. They want new results while repeating the same old thoughts and actions. Changing the brain requires consistency, as every repetition builds a new neural pathway. Here is an inspiring thought: the brain you have today is not your whole story. It is simply the result of what you have learned, repeated, and focused on until now. Because the brain is plastic, your future is not fixed. You can reshape your mind, your skills, and even your identity. Slowly, the book makes us realize that a human's greatest strength isn't just intelligence, it's adaptability. The capacity to change, to learn, and to recreate oneself. We will discuss how to apply neuroplasticity in daily life, how habits and thoughts shape the brain, why change feels difficult, how to train your brain for success, focus, and growth. Now, let's look at where this book moves beyond fascinating stories and connects to our daily lives. If it's true the brain can change, the next natural question is, how does it change? And more importantly, can we use that change consciously to our advantage? The answer is yes, but we must understand that our brain is shaping itself every day, every hour, with every experience. Neuroplasticity isn't magic, it's the result of small repetitions. When you practice a skill repeatedly, your brain strengthens the neural pathways associated with it. Whether you are learning a language, an instrument, or a new professional field, your brain is literally reorganizing its connections. This is why what feels difficult at first becomes easy after a few months. However, neuroplasticity is a double-edged sword. Your brain can learn bad habits just as easily as good ones. If you overthink every day, reinforce negativity, or avoid every challenge, your brain strengthens those behaviors too. This is why people often stay stuck in the same emotional patterns for years. The problem isn't just the situation, it's the neural pathway that has been activated so many times. The book also explains why change feels uncomfortable. When you try to adopt a new behavior, your brain creates resistance because it craves familiarity. It prefers the paths already paved. Starting a new habit requires significant effort initially, but if you persist, the new pathway strengthens and the behavior begins to feel natural. An inspiring insight here is that while we think motivation changes us, repetition is actually more powerful. If you repeat the small behaviors of the person you want to become every day, your brain eventually accepts that new identity. Small actions are incredibly powerful in the long run. Habits are more than just behaviors, they become part of your brain's architecture. When a habit is deeply ingrained, it requires very little conscious effort. To change your life, don't just focus on goals, focus on habits. Goals provide direction, but habits are what actually change the brain. The book also highlights how attention shapes neuroplasticity. Whatever you focus on, your brain strengthens in that direction. If your attention is constantly on distractions, your focus will weaken. If you focus on learning and concentration, your brain strengthens those qualities. Your attention is the sculptor of your brain. Even our thoughts have a physical impact. Repeated thinking patterns strengthen neural connections just as much as actions do. Optimism, gratitude, and constructive thinking aren't just slogans, they change your brain's structure. Similarly, chronic fear and anxiety can reshape the brain negatively. Norman Doidge leaves us with a powerful message: be careful about how you define your limitations. Often, what feels like a permanent limitation is just a current state. The brain's capacity for change is greater than we imagine. This doesn't mean everything is easy, but it means growth is always possible. Finally, the book reminds us of the need for patience. We live in a world of instant results, but brain change is gradual. Just as a tree doesn't grow overnight, a new neural network takes time. Many people give up just before the real transformation begins. When you apply the understanding of neuroplasticity, you start to see yourself differently. You stop seeing weaknesses as a permanent identity and start seeing them as patterns that can be changed. This mindset is the doorway to growth. Your brain is a record of your past, but it is not the boundary of your future. What you learn, what you focus on, and what you repeat shapes who you are. Every day is a chance to make your mind a little better. Remember, you don't just use your brain, you are building it every single day. If you enjoyed this book summary and it made you feel more optimistic about your potential, please like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next story. Thank you.